it's a great time to sense into what we may be hiding from. It's an opportunity for us to move towards our own shadows. Hey everyone, I'm Sean Fargo from Mindfulness Exercises. I hope you're doing well. It's getting colder here in Northern California. The sun is out, but the cold is coming in. We're expecting some rain, some storms, a lot of fog, and so, winter is coming. And some people are already asking, how can we be mindful in winter? And, I've always thought that winter is a sort of a ideal time to practice our mindfulness meditation, as it's a wonderful opportunity to go inward. When it's getting colder outside, darker, it's an opportunity for us to shelter and find refuge in our home, to go inward, to settle into the body, find some quiet, slow down our momentum, and sense into the body and the heart. I think it's an ideal time for us to also do a lot of heart practice. I know that when I've done retreats in the winter time, that's usually a good opportunity for me to sense into whether there's some grief in the heart. Remember one time I was reading the book Loving Kindness by Sharon Salzberg for a couple weeks, just on a winter retreat, and I probably went through 3 boxes of Kleenex crying, softening my heart. It was painful, but it's a great time to sense into what we may be hiding from. It's an opportunity for us to move towards our own shadows. There's darkness with the shorter days in wintertime, and we also carry darkness inside us sometimes, and it can be scary to shed light on some of the things that we may be fearing. I know personally, especially in these difficult times, there's some things that I'm scared about. With family, with the environment, with political strife and war and famine, and you name it. And so I know that when I sense into the body, sense into the pelvic area, sense into the heart, I can feel that fear. And so it's difficult to open to the vulnerabilities of being human, the vulnerabilities of suffering and uncertainty. And the winter time, I think, is just a ideal time to accept these vulnerabilities. The winter is a time of vulnerability. If we don't take precaution, then we could freeze or not find enough food. And so we need to store up, find some warmth. It's just an inherently vulnerable time, and it's just a time for inviting mindfulness of vulnerability and fear. And so can we hold this with a sense of carrying perspective, carrying spaciousness, self-compassion? I know that for me, there's also these opportunities of opening to guilt and shame, to kind of look back on the year and see, is there anything that I feel guilty about or ashamed by, not to beat myself up, but to acknowledge things that I may not be acknowledging. And can I work with that guilt? Can I work with that shame by just opening to it, acknowledging it, maybe writing it out, talking about it, and working with a sense of self-compassion, sense of common humanity, simple acknowledgement without judgment, and sensing into a sense of care and love, say around the belly and around the belly button, these areas where we tend to carry guilt and shame. And so, for me, in the spring and summertime, I tend to get a little bit head focused, head based. That young energy of doing and creating and giving and accelerating. There's that warm, young energy, and I tend to get in my head. And in the winter time, it's a wonderful opportunity to remember my heart, kind of drop back into the heart, drop back into the body, and do more loving kindness practice and self-compassion practice and forgiveness practice. I see that the winter is an opportunity for us to practice in the heart. So, as there's rain in the winter time, so too there can be tears. As there's cold outside, can we warm up the heart and bring heart to our presence more and more? As there's lots of storm energy rushing around outside, can we find this peace and stillness inside? Another thing too is sometimes we're, say, scared of going outside because it's quote unquote too cold. But I really like sensing that cold and working with judgments. Maybe the cold isn't bad or wrong, but rather it's just maybe unpleasant sometimes, and maybe it's actually more pleasant than we think other times. Maybe going for a dip in the lagoon, waking up the body, and then getting wrapped up with a warm towel and a pizza. But really welcoming the cold and really noticing our judgments of the cold, and maybe softening our judgments and replacing it with curiosity, and just noticing whether it's pleasant or unpleasant. Doesn't necessarily mean it's bad or wrong. So, so these are just a few things that I like to do in the wintertime. These are things that I'm preparing for as it gets colder and darker. Really finding the refuge in the body, slowing down the momentum, sensing into any fear, guilt, shame, bringing the light of this mindful awareness to my shadows. And as I slow down and kind of drop back into the heart more, find this sense of spaciousness, tranquility, ease, and really sort of feel the aliveness of the winter, kind of waking up my skin and my senses. So just a few thoughts, but I hope you're doing well wherever you are in the world. I know in the southern hemisphere, the summer is coming. And so, sensing into summer too. And these transitions of our planet, there's these transitions of the seasons of our own life. So hope you're doing well. Thank you so much for co-creating our mindful community. But I'd love to hear from you. Like, how is your mindfulness practice in the winter time? What are some of the practices you do as we transition into darkness and cold? Does your practice shift? Do you practice more or less? But leave a comment down in the comment section. I'd love to hear from you. Let me know what works for you. And I'll see you again soon. Take care.